Good morning. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Russell and I work 6 hours on Monday, 6 hours on Tuesday, and I work a little bit on Wednesday if I have to. I got the dogs out here running around. They heard a deer or something. I am an entrepreneur. I am semi-retired, and I have chose to continue to work because I believe that that's the healthiest thing that I can do for myself, is to continue to work. I'm not going to retire 100% and go in that house and do absolutely nothing all day. I'm not going to go in that house and start drinking and watching TV. Not happening. I pay attention to very successful people. I've learned a lot from successful people over my life. And when you're in your 50s, you're your strongest, you're your wisest, and you're some other things I'm not gonna share. But I took that advice from this guy. He was in my speech club. He said his best years of his life were in his 50s. So I thought, well, your best years are in your 50s. If you've worked for the county for 30 years and you started at 20, you can retire at 50. And then what do you do? I have friends that are retired, and one worked at the county for 30 years. He retired at 50. All he does is drink. Okay? I have another friend that hasn't worked in 40 years, and he doesn't make any money. He doesn't do anything. He sleeps all day. He's up all night. He's like a 5-year-old kid. He has no discipline, no guidance, no nothing. And I find I wind up helping these people out. I don't have any money. I don't have any food. I don't have any. Well, get off your butt and go do something. So today's video is about this whiteboard here. I don't do whiteboard sessions all the time unless it's very, very important. I guess today I'm going to put the hat on of influencer. I had a young man come up to me and he asked me for a job. I told him no, right out of the gate. No, I'm not going to hire you. A few months went by and he asked me again for a job. I said, I need to think about it. Well, one of his coworkers approached me the next time I was in the restaurant and said, Brandon can use a job. He could really use your help. All right, pulled on them old heartstrings, and I said, I'll do it. I'll hire the kid. Well, anyway, if you've watched past videos, you'll know that he ended up stealing everything from me. Not everything, but most of my stuff. When he came over to the house, I tried to inspire him. I said, we're broke. We have no money. That's going to be our mindset. Okay? In order to hire Brandon in that particular time of my life, we needed to find more accounts. We needed to add work to my business so he could get a paycheck. So I asked him how much he makes a month. So that's a goal. We need to make that and then some. Okay? Now we have a starting point. All right, so let's build a roadmap to get there. We need to make 5 phone calls a day. Okay? I made 5 phone calls a day for 3 months 13 or 14 years ago. And I've never had to do it since. I built up such a strong foundation for my service business that I didn't have to make phone calls or advertise or paint numbers and letters on my truck. Okay? We could buy some accounts. Okay? How much money do you have? He had 50 cents in his pocket, I think. What are we going to do during the wintertime? All right? In the wintertime, during those, I'd say the last 3 years, I've been working 18, 20 hours a week or more, 25 last year, the year before 25. But all the winters, I worked. I bought accounts and I worked year round, okay? I didn't take a break because I had goals. in order to meet those goals, you have to do something. So I was proactive. I did something to reach my goals, and guess what? I reached my goals. And if you write your goals down and you look at them every day, you'd be shocked at what you can achieve. Those goals will tick off very quickly if you write them down, you pay attention to them, and you're focused, all right? And you're headed to McDonald's, you don't go the other way. Who do you want your customers to be? Do you want to do hedges? Do you want to pull lots of weeds? Do you want to do big houses? Do you want to work for poor people, rich people? You want to work, you want to do residential accounts, commercial accounts only. And that's important because the more commercial accounts you do, the less residential accounts you have to do, because residential doesn't pay as much as commercial. I have a commercial account that pays me $2,300 a month. It takes 2.5, let's just say 3 hours to do a week times 4.5, because there's 5 weeks in a month for 6 months and 4 weeks in months for 6 months. So I always just 4.5 it. Okay. So what do you want to do? You want to get commercial accounts or residential accounts? When you're broke, it's hard to do commercial accounts because guess what? You need insurance, you need licensing, you need all that stuff. This is a little more lax. These people want you to show up. They want you to mow their lawn and leave. Hey, how are you? Complain about a few things, and then they want you to go away, and then they want to see you next week. All right, that's how that works. Commercial accounts, cost to get into them is a little higher. You know, I have background checks and stuff, and comp exempt, or comp if you have employees. Costs more money in fuel. The equipment wears out a little quicker. And we have bugs in the morning here. Where we're at, there's bugs. There's mosquitoes don't sleep. They're out in the morning. They're up early like I am. So decide what you want to do. If you have 3 or 4 commercial accounts, you don't need any residential accounts. If you do residential versus commercial, this is a lot harder to do. You need a lot more residential accounts in order to make this commercial money. I said to him, who can you work for right now? Who can you go work for right now? He thought for a moment, I thought for a moment. I've been down this road a long time, all right? I know this stuff. You call your ex-wife's brother's next door neighbor and see if they need anything. You got to put on your thinking cap. Who can you work for now? Write it down, make it a goal to work for them, okay? Even if you have to give away the first service for free, you give them a discount. I found I couldn't get commercial accounts when I first started out because I didn't have the money. I couldn't pay to get in the park fee. All right, so I did residentials. Okay. The internet now, that costs money to advertise. Okay, so when you're thinking about a name for a service business, you want to have the word that starts with an A, because then you're more than likely going to be one of the first companies that pull up in the search engine. All right, I like the word August and stuff like that because it's hot, and you know, people associate August with summertime and stuff like that. So, you know, more than not, you'd be pulled up first in a search engine. Okay, and you'd get the phone call first. All right. You can also advertise, you know, and try to get bigger jobs. Tree work, okay? There's a lot of money in tree work. I did a lot of tree work in the last 14 years. It pays big time. Last year, I didn't make an awful lot of money in residential and commercial accounts, but I made a lot of money doing big jobs. One big job can sometimes equal or exceed the amount of a residential account, okay? So tree work brings in a lot of money, but guess what? Once you cut a tree down, it don't grow back. So that person you cut the tree down for is not sending you a check next week for that tree job. Ain't happening. It's gone. You're going to have to wait 25 years in order to cut that tree down again. Okay? The best time to add to your service business is in the wintertime. Everybody thinks that lawn service and landscape slows down in the wintertime. That's not true. That's one of the busiest times in my business. That cycle, customers are coming down from up north. They're getting to their house for the first time. They ain't seen it in 6 months, and they're driving through their big fancy neighborhood, and they're seeing all their neighbors' house with pretty flowers and stuff. I make more money in the wintertime doing extra work, flowers, landscape, mulch, all that. And at the end of the year, that can add up. You know, you can make $130,000. You need about 45 accounts is on the average in order to pay all your bills and keep your head above water in a service business. Okay, you can easily in 3 or 4 years grow that to 100 and some accounts. Okay, and if you're doing 20, 30 lawns a day, you can achieve that very easily. It's hard to do though. Getting your first account is the hardest thing on the planet. It took me forever to get my first account. My first mailbox money account. Yes, right. Where they send me a check every single month like a robot. For years, they send me a check like a robot. I kept that account for over 14 years. When I retired down to the Monday, Tuesday, and a little Wednesday morning, I let that account go, along with the big commercial account that I had done for probably 13 years also. You know, I'll talk more about that in another video. Okay. So I also made money doing the middleman thing. I hired tree guys to go out and do the big tree jobs when I was too busy doing this stuff, commercial and residential. So I was making a couple $1,000s a year extra by hiring the middleman. You give me a telephone and you give me some contacts and you stick me in a closet, I could make $10,000 a year guaranteed and not have to touch any of that stuff. Okay, I can advertise on the internet. Where's the internet? The internet's here. On the internet for tree work, for this work, for that work. And when they call me, I'll have in my little Rolodex, I'll have my contacts, and I'll call up Coconut Cowboys Tree Service, say I got a job, go give me an estimate. And most of the time I have him thinking he's competing with other people, and he's really not. He's the only guy I use because I trust him. Okay, so little tricks, you know. He gives me a price for $800. You know, the other guy will do it for about $7. There is no other guy. All right. So, but anyway, if I was 20 years ago, Russ, and I had successfully done all this, I would start farming my accounts also. When a customer comes outside and they ask you a question, you know, why were you 15 minutes late today, which I was never ever late, or, you know, can you grab those weeds, and why is this bush not flowering right now, or whatever, I would sell them extra work. Every single time a customer would come out, and I would have to get off the equipment, shut it off, take the headphones off, take my dust and sun protection off, and just strip down to nothing so I can have a conversation with them. I would sell them something. I don't think they ever realized what I was doing. So I had so much work that I didn't sell any work to anybody. But if you came out and you bothered me, I would sell you something. Say hi, Wayne. Daddy's making a video trying to help people. So, what I suggest doing, and Wayne suggests doing, is starting a service business. Now, if I could go back 35 years, get in the Frito-Lay time machine, go back 35 years, I would start a window washing business. All those plazas you can get to with just a little step ladder. Yeah, and Wayne says you don't need a lot of equipment. You need a bucket of water, and you need some soap, and you need a squeegee, and a towel to wipe the sweat off of your face. And guess what? Those businesses will send you money every month. Go get you a P.O. box, check it once a week, and watch the dough roll in, okay? From cleaning windows. And then when you get a bunch of windows, you hire somebody. Then you get a bunch more windows. There's not a lot of overhead in the window washing business. I would be in the window washing business, not hanging off of a skyscraper, but cleaning windows. All right. You know why I'm standing here making videos and I don't have to work 40 hours a week anymore? I have a secret. I was the most responsible person to my customers. I wasn't the best lawn care guy out there, trust me. I wasn't as good as some of these other companies, but guess what? I was reliable and dependable. The guy that worked at this account before me was probably the best, but guess what? He didn't show up all the time, and the customer was frustrated. So sometimes they'll take whatever they can get. Okay. I'll go over some of the numbers in another video about approximately what you can make and what you can't make. All right. The good thing about a service business is you don't have to be athletic. You don't have to be tall, short. Anybody can do it. I drove by a 70-some-year-old man the other day out mowing lawns. You know, you're not going to see him sitting in his house drinking 30 beers and watching The Price is Right. He still has goals, all right? I'm not going to stop working at 52 and a half. Not going to happen. I asked the office how much money I made last year. I don't keep track. I know you're supposed to know your numbers. Shark Tank. Know your numbers. I don't know my numbers until 6 months after the next year starts. How much did I make last year? She goes, you made over $100,000. I said, that's not possible. She goes, you did. I go, how did that happen? How did I make that kind of money? She goes, because you did some big jobs. And I went, oh, you're right. During the nicest weather of last year, I did some big jobs that put me over $100,000. Okay. I didn't even know that. I was shocked. I'm, yeah, all right, pat me on the back. Hey, no one's asking for my autograph and taking my picture. Hey, Russ made over $100,000. You know, I don't mind sharing some of my personal information with you guys if it helps you out. Okay. I don't have a high school diploma. I don't have a college education. I have a equivalency piece of paper that my dad hung on the wall. All right. I think I've owned 12 businesses in my life. I'm not Ben Mallah. I'm not Grant Cardone. All right. I'm not Bill Gates. I'm not Elon Musk. I'm none of these guys. They're generational freaks. Okay. But they work their butts off to get where they're at. They spent all their time and energy developing PayPal and this and computers and, you know, Thomas Edison. He wasn't out partying and dancing at Club 57 or whatever, Club 60, whatever. No, he was trying to figure out how to get a light bulb to work. All right, you didn't see him down at the China buffet eating lunch. No, he was. If he was taking a break, it was a 10-minute nap. So he spent his whole life inventing things. You know, if you really want to look into him, he stole some people's ideas, and did he do this and this and that? Well, look into things. You know, I give some advice to somebody once. I said, people research uh, a car before they buy it, before they'll go research other things that people tell them. Okay, when I tell you something, that means I've done it, and I've done it over and over and over and over and over and over again. And guess what? It works. Your first account that you get, you make sure that you're at their house over and over and over and over and over and over again, like clockwork. And sometimes I felt like I was at this guy Jeff Reagan's house every single waking hour of my life. I was that responsible that I was always at his house at the same time. It was a little maddening, all right? I felt like I didn't have a life. And you're right, I didn't, because I was laying it all on the line for what I believed in and for what I wanted. I never, ever, ever, ever want to rent a house from someone else. I don't ever, ever, ever want to be told, no, I can't buy that, I can't do this, and I can't have that. Never again. Nobody can kick me out of my house except Mother Nature, okay? I decided that I was going to be relentless in my pursuit of financial freedom, okay? And I did it a different way. I did it through hard work. There's this old phrase, I'm not going to say the A word, but it's the A word and elbows. And that's how I made the come up, okay? Service. We're in a state where service businesses dominate everything. There are tons of service businesses you could start. If you're curious about a service business, take 3 months of your life and go out and get a job with one, okay? I wasn't the best at this stuff. But guess what? I was the most responsible. I was the most reliable. I have a customer who, has a funny personality. He's got a big ego. And he comes up to me once in a while and he'll pay me a compliment. Yeah, a compliment. He goes, Russ, you've worked for me for 8 years. I'm like, yeah. He goes, you've never missed a day, ever. And I thought to myself, you're right. I've never missed a day, And then I think about him a little bit. I'm like, yeah, because, you're one of the biggest pain in my butts I got for a customer. But guess what? I didn't tell him about my goals. I didn't tell him why I put up with all this malarkey. All right, he treated me like malarkey all the time. Okay. He had no idea I had financial goals. I wanted to be debt free. I want to own my own home. He had no idea. That's why I was at his house working my butt off. All right. I could have grown this business into a very, very large, massive company, but I didn't want to deal with all the hassles and the headaches. I decided that I wanted just a little slice of the pie. I didn't want the whole pie. I wanted just a little slice. Okay. A good analogy is I don't want to live in a massive house because guess what? I don't want to clean it. It's hard to clean a big house. The electricity's expensive. I've been in houses where they've had 10 air conditioning units and more. And I says to the guy, how much is your light bill? Thousands of dollars. I've been in a house where the light bill is $10,000 a month. Light went off. I don't want to be that guy. I'm sorry. All right. I want a 3-bedroom house, a 2-car garage, and a little bit of property. Okay. I want a light bill that's 160 some bucks, not $10,000. Okay. Hey, I'm not bagging on the guy for wanting to live in a mansion. Hey, that's his thing. He likes that kind of stuff. Great. All right. I'm doing my thing. They do their thing. So, could I grow this to a large company? If my ego was speaking for me and not my brain, yeah, I could do that. You put enough time and effort into something, you can do anything. Okay? You put in the hard work and you'll reap the benefits. All right? I'm supposed to be standing here with a guy named Brandon. That'll never happen. So I'm doing this by myself. Brandon was supposed to be an example of a young, successful businessman. 10 months ago, this was the whiteboard session that we had when I hired him. He was supposed to be out on his own by April. That's never going to happen. And you know what? That's okay. All right? We all make decisions in our lives that impact stuff. This old man was going to mentor that young kid and teach him everything I know about service businesses. And that's not going to happen. And I'm all right with that. So, if you're just passing through and you like this stuff, hit the subscribe button, press the like button. I'll make more videos. I'll share more tips and nuggets on how I became successful on just this slice of pie. And if you're just passing through and this is not your thing, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I think I'll do another video, another breakdown, go into more detail on how I became successful in a service business. All right, well, this is Russell Does Stuff, and that's Wayne. Until the next time.